Case number 47, September 14th, 1893. The bride who vanished on her wedding night. I have kept records of every case since I first put on the uniform in '75. Some to remember, some I wish I could forget. This one still troubles me on foggy autumn nights. They found the wedding dress at 6:30 in the morning, folded neat as you like on the banks of the Thames, just below Blackfriars Bridge. White silk, imported lace, still damp from the river mist. A constable who discovered it thought it was a drowning. Suicide, most likely. Happens more than people care to admit. Young women, desperate women, walking into the Thames in their finest clothes. But there was no body. And when we traced the dress back to its owner, we learned something that made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. The woman who'd worn that dress had been married in it less than 12 hours before. Her name was Catherine Whitmore, 23 years old, daughter of a shipping clerk in Bermondsey. Not wealthy, mind you, but respectable. The kind of family that saves every penny for years to give their daughter a proper wedding. And by all accounts, it had been a proper wedding. St. George's Church in South Firk, 40 guests, a wedding breakfast at the bride's family home. Nothing grand, but decent, respectable. The groom was a man named Thomas Greer, 28, worked as a foreman at the Millwall docks. Steady employment, good wages, no debts that we could find, no history of violence or drink. The families approved, the banns had been read, everything done proper. The bride and groom left the wedding breakfast at 8:30 in the evening, hired a hansom cab to take them to their new lodgings in Rotherhithe, 2 rooms above a chandler's shop. Not much, but it was theirs, a start. The cab driver remembered them, said they seemed happy enough. The bride was quiet, but that's not unusual. Wedding day nerves. The groom was cheerful, paid the fare with a bit extra. They climbed the stairs to their rooms at 9:15. The landlady, Mrs. Ellen Dobbs, heard them go up, heard their footsteps overhead, heard the door close. That was the last time anyone saw Catherine Whitmore alive. Thomas Greer raised the alarm at 7 the next morning, came hammering on Mrs. Dobbs' door, white as a sheet, saying his wife was gone. Said he'd woken at dawn and she wasn't beside him. Thought perhaps she'd gone down to the yard, there was a privy out back. But she wasn't there. Her wedding dress was gone. Her shoes were gone. The door to their rooms had been unlocked from the inside. Mrs. Dobbs sent her boy to fetch the police. I arrived at 8:30 with Constable Morris. Young lad, keen. Too keen sometimes, but thorough. The rooms were small, one for sleeping, one for living. A bed, a table, 2 chairs, a washstand. Everything neat, no signs of struggle. The window was latched from the inside. The only way out was through the door, and that door opened onto the staircase, and that staircase led past Mrs. Dobbs's rooms. She's a light sleeper, she told us. The smallest sound wakes her. She heard nothing in the night. Thomas Greer was broken. That's the only word for it. Sat at that little table with his head in his hands. Couldn't look at us. Kept saying he didn't understand. Said they'd gone to bed around 11. Said Catherine had been quiet, but he'd thought she was just tired. Said he'd fallen asleep beside her, and when he woke, she was gone. I've seen guilty men, and I've seen innocent men, and Thomas Greer looked innocent. But looking innocent and being innocent aren't always the same thing. We searched those rooms. Morris went through every inch while I questioned Greer. We found Catherine's other clothes, a simple day dress, undergarments, a shawl, still folded in the trunk she'd brought from her father's house. We found her hairbrush, her Sunday gloves, a small Bible her mother had given her. everything a young bride would bring to start her new life. Everything except Catherine herself. The wedding dress turned up 3 hours later. The constable brought word while I was still at the lodgings. White silk on the riverbank, he said, folded neat. No blood, no tears, no signs of violence, just damp from the mist and the morning dew. I left Morris with Greer and went to see it for myself. Blackfriars Bridge, half a mile from the lodgings in Rotherhithe. The dress was laid out on the embankment stones, like someone had placed it there deliberate. Not thrown, not dropped, placed. The lace collar was arranged just so. The sleeves were folded across the bodice. It looked like a body laid out for burial, except there was no body. I've seen a lot of things left by the Thames, bodies mostly, suicides and murders and accidents, but I'd never seen a dress laid out like that, like someone wanted it to be found, like someone wanted us to think about what it meant. I stood there in the morning light, watching the river slide past, and I thought about Catherine Whitmore, 23 years old, married 12 hours, gone. We went to her family. Had to. Her father, Mr. Edward Whitmore, took it hard. Her mother worse. They kept saying it couldn't be true, that Catherine would never, that she'd been happy, that she'd wanted this marriage, that she'd been looking forward to it. But then her sister spoke up. Margaret, a year younger. She said Catherine had been nervous, more than nervous, frightened even. Said Catherine had cried the night before the wedding. Asked Margaret if marriage was always frightening. Margaret said she told her it was just nerves, that every bride felt that way. But now she wasn't sure. I went back to Thomas Greer with new questions. Asked him if Catherine had seemed frightened. Asked him if she'd said anything about not wanting to marry. Asked him if anything had happened on their wedding night that might have upset her. He wouldn't look at me. Just sat there at that table, staring at his hands. Finally he spoke. He said Catherine had been frightened of him. Said she'd asked him to wait. Asked him not to consummate the marriage. Not yet. Said she needed time. And he'd agreed. Said they could wait as long as she needed. Said they'd gone to sleep with the bed between them, him on one side, her on the other. Said he'd meant to be patient. Said he loved her. And when he woke, she was gone.
Now, I've been a police detective long enough to know that a frightened bride and a vanished wedding dress point to one obvious conclusion. Catherine Whitmore had run. Run from a marriage she didn't want, run from a husband she feared, run from a life she couldn't face. But that didn't explain the dress on the riverbank. Didn't explain how she'd left those rooms without waking Mrs. Dobbs. Didn't explain where she'd gotten other clothes to wear. Didn't explain why she'd arranged that dress so careful-like, as if she wanted us to think she'd drowned. Unless she wanted everyone to think she was dead, so they'd stop looking for her. I spent 2 days walking the streets around Rotherhithe and Blackfriars, showed Catherine's description to cab drivers, street vendors, anyone who might have seen a young woman in the early hours of September 14th. Most remembered nothing. A few remembered seeing women, but none that matched Catherine. Then I found a flower seller near Southwark Bridge. Old woman, sharp eyes. She remembered. Said she'd seen a young woman around midnight. Dark hair, pale face, wearing a white dress. Walking fast like she was being chased. But there was no one chasing her. The woman had stopped at the flower seller's corner, breathing hard. Asked which way to Bermondsey. The flower seller had pointed south. Said the woman had thanked her and hurried off. Said she thought it odd, a woman in a wedding dress, walking alone at midnight. But odd things happen by the river. You learn not to ask. Bermondsey, Catherine's family home.
I went to the Whitmore house after dark. Didn't knock on the front door. Instead, I watched from across the street. Waited. At 9:30, a light appeared in an upstairs window. The attic. I'd been through that house the day before. The attic was used for storage. No one slept up there. But someone was up there now. I waited until 10:30. Then I knocked. Mr. Whitmore answered. I told him I had more questions, asked if I could search the house again. He looked frightened, but he let me in. I went straight for the attic. She was there, Catherine Whitmore, sitting on an old trunk in the darkness, still wearing her nightdress. She'd cut her hair short, hacked it off with scissors by the look of it. Her hands were shaking. When she saw me, she didn't run. Just sat there looking at me with those frightened eyes. I asked her why. She said she couldn't do it. Couldn't be a wife. Couldn't belong to a man she barely knew. Said her parents had arranged it. Said it was a good match. Said Thomas was a good man. But she'd never wanted it. Never wanted any of it. Said she'd left the wedding dress by the river so everyone would think she'd drowned, so Thomas would be free to marry someone else, so her parents wouldn't have to be ashamed of a daughter who'd run away. Said she'd planned to hide in the attic for a few days, then leave London, go north, find work, start over. But she was 23 years old with no money, no references, and no idea how to survive on her own.
I should have arrested her. Wasting police time, causing public distress, making a false report of death. They were charges I could have brought. But I looked at Catherine Whitmore sitting in that attic with her hacked-off hair and her shaking hands, and I thought about what it must be like to be so frightened of your own life that you'd fake your own death to escape it. I thought about Thomas Greer, sitting in those lodgings, broken-hearted. And I thought about how sometimes the law and justice aren't quite the same thing. I made a choice that night. Right or wrong, I made it. I told Catherine's parents that their daughter was alive, but that she couldn't stay in London. Told them if she went back to Thomas Greer, or if this became public, there'd be scandal that would ruin them all. Told them the best thing was for Catherine to go away, quietly. Let people think she drowned. Let Thomas Greer mourn a dead wife instead of a runaway bride. Mr. Whitmore was angry. Mrs. Whitmore was heartbroken, but they agreed. Catherine had an aunt in Edinburgh, unmarried, childless. She agreed to take Catherine in. Catherine left London 3 days later on the night train. I made sure of it, watched her board myself. As for Thomas Greer, I told him we'd found evidence suggesting Catherine had drowned. Told him the river sometimes keeps its dead. Told him I was sorry for his loss. He believed me. 6 months later, I heard that Thomas Greer had moved away from London, went to work in Liverpool, started fresh. I hope he found happiness. He deserved it. He was a good man caught in a bad situation. As for Catherine Whitmore, I never heard from her again. Don't know if she stayed in Edinburgh. Don't know if she ever found whatever it was she was looking for. Don't know if she ever stopped being frightened. I've thought about that case many times over the years. Wondered if I did the right thing. I bent the law that night, lied in my report, helped a woman disappear who should have faced consequences for what she did.
But I've also thought about how many young women are married off to men they barely know. How many are told it's their duty. How many are frightened, but go through with it anyway because they don't see another choice. Catherine Whitmore saw another choice. It wasn't a good choice. It hurt people. But she saw it. And she took it. And I let her.
Case number 47, September 14th, 1893. The bride who vanished on her wedding night. The dress is still in the evidence room at Scotland Yard, far as I know. White silk, imported lace, folded neat, waiting for a body that will never be found.